Hi everyone and welcome to a pick a card reading brought to you by 1millionnights.com. Today's pick a card reading attempts to take a look at how today's Virgo new moon may manifest in our lives. Because like every single new moon, the most important symbolism is that of new beginnings, of something fresh and new. May it be ideas, energies, or even something material that can enter our lives and basically give it an upgrade, a revamp, or simply a totally new beginning in at least one area of our lives. So this particular new moon can greatly influence, on one hand, either our psychological configurations, because it does stand across the sky from Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, and that is the symbolism of the unconscious mind. And whatever we manage to change or reform in our unconscious mind, especially our neural patterns, well, that has to manifest one way or another in our external reality. And because Virgo is an earth sign, well, chances are that it is even material in nature. But on the other hand, it can simply be something purely material, because Virgo does rule service to others, it does rule work, the physical body and the health, and of course, our everyday routines. So when something new enters in that area of our lives, well, it does change our material situations, or basically our relation to our material situation. May that represent money, may that represent work or a career, but at the same time it can simply be our physical daily routines, our health, the way we take care of our bodies, the way we nurture our bodies. And naturally it can also affect our way of thinking, because if, let's say, we manage to somehow adapt a very healthy, a very supportive, a self-caring and nurturing way of thinking, well, that helps in almost every single area of our lives, no matter what we do, where we are, what our situations are. A healthy and very efficient and problem-solving oriented way of thinking helps a great deal in everything. So naturally, just take a look at the 3 piles of cards for a couple of seconds, or as long as you need, and then choose a number which sparks up your intuitive senses the most, and then jump straight to the interpretations. The timestamps of the 3 different piles can be found in the comments below. For those of you who have chosen the first pile, your cards are the 9 of Cups reversed, clarified by the 6 of Swords. Now, the 9 of Cups reversed naturally speaks about obstacles, limitations, complications, problems, bad patterns, or bad emotional cycles playing out over and over again, which are a main source of your unhappiness. Or if it's not actually unhappiness, well, you can perceive this as, all those elements which don't depend on you that very much, that basically keep you from enjoying your life as much as you should and as much as you deserve. But of course, those elements can be totally different for different people. So for some people, it is naturally psychological. So there is a pattern which makes you feel rather abandoned, forsaken, because all those people in your life, no matter what position they occupy, they simply don't get your emotions, your feelings, or basically, simply said, how you function psychologically. And this is a source of blockages and a lot of social limitations, because it kind of prevents you from forming new relationship. May that be friendship, may that be romantic relationship, may that be professional. In any case, really positive and new people cannot enter into your life, because you kind of feel so very lonely, so very misunderstood. There is no resonance between you and any other person out there, even if they're like family, friends, or very close people. You just have the sense that no one really understands you. But of course, this is basically due to your high level emotional intelligence, or you might have some psychological studies or even self-study where you kind of research this subject, how the human psyche works. So you kind of stand in a position of superiority in relation to many other people for the simple fact that you understand, you know how you function, you know how others function. And as they say, knowledge is power, but it is also sometimes a burden when no one else possesses that high level of knowledge that you do. So basically, it's not like the flow isn't there in your life. So new people can enter your life so very quickly, but they don't really resonate because you can immediately see through them and know if that relation, that connection, whatever its nature, can work, or if it's simply going to lead to nowhere emotionally. Of course, this doesn't really affect business, it doesn't affect, the material world that much, because if it's like a business partner, customer, or anything that has to do with your day-to-day life, the connection is still there and relevant, but it is emotionally that you don't connect because you know that there is absolutely no point. So that means it will never turn into a friendship, it will never turn into a closer, deeper, like social connection basically. And even if the other person would really like it too, well, this is where you have to block that out because it is your wisdom, your knowledge. You know that it will never lead to anywhere, so why even give it a chance? And none of this is actually negative. You're actually doing everything right because it is basically life experience. You know that this is how it works. You know that this is how it's always been, and it would be futile to even hope and open up yourself for something that you know fully well that it's never gonna turn into anything positive for you. And of course, for you guys, it is exactly this which changes, because that is the symbolism of the Six of Swords. It means the transition from this state into a totally different and new state where maybe you are actually going to have some very few, naturally, like we cannot dream about something impossible, so few but very, very relevant social connections in your life. But that social connection is like actual friendship, or it can also represent a partnership if you're single or looking. It can even represent a new work environment, a new professional environment, if that is your case, where some people do get you, they are exactly like you, and of course, they even have similar background stories to you. For example, the past, or how you grew up, your studies, or your way of thinking, your worldview, so to speak. So that is going to be a really positive new beginning for you, which truly can change your story, because for you it is more than enough to have at least one or two people who can truly understand you and you can understand them very well, and that already is a very beneficial, mutual, emotional connection where you nurture each other, you support each other, or you're simply there for each other emotionally, and that matters so very, very much because it will simply end this state of loneliness, this state where you're not understood by anyone. And when this state, if we can call it like that, ends, well, your life is going to feel so very, very different, and it is the feeling that matters the most. Because due to your high intelligence, not just emotional intelligence, but also like IQ, Internally, basically, you have everything that you could possibly wish for to succeed in life or to have the life which actually satisfies you. So this will matter very, very much for you. Now, for other people, this can represent a totally different expression where it is a lot of duties, obligations they have towards other people, which are really limiting their freedom. Basically, you don't have that time and room to breathe, to be yourself, to be with yourself, to just relax, to just enjoy your own company, or to enjoy every other area of your life which you actually would like to enjoy. And for you guys, that Six of Swords represent your transition from being emotionally overwhelmed by others into a state of greater freedom where, you have to expressively accept and offer your help or support, or for you to have any kind of obligation to another person. Because, when you have an obligation, you have to promise that, you have to commit to it. So in other words, something is going to enter your life which will enable you not to make any commitments, compromises, not to agree to everything which is not in your will, which you do not desire, which simply would be otherwise forced upon you one way or another, even if just morally. And if this has to do with your job, with your career, with your everyday routines, maybe you're someone who is offering a service to people, well, it is there where the change can take place, and basically it will lead you to a greater degree of freedom where you will no longer be obligated by life, by your circumstances, by anything, as I said, not even moral elements, to do anything that you do not wish to do. So naturally, if we look at the big picture where that Six of Swords is taking you towards, well, that is independence, self-sufficiency, where you can basically enjoy the life that you have, the life that you have created for yourself. And it can also be the case that regardless of how your situation plays out, if it's the first nuance of this energy or this second one, well, you have wished for this, and you have been wishing for this for quite some time now, maybe the past 9 months, the past 6 months, because you truly have reached the conclusion that, changing the way you approach relationships or finding a way to limit people from entering your lives, especially those people who really don't belong there, you kind of knew that this is exactly what you had to do, but you just didn't have the options or the possibilities in your life yet. So this is what this new moon is going to be helping you. Maybe this is how the trine with Saturn is going to manifest in your life, where it is even destiny or fate which helps you to eliminate the sources of unhappiness or discontent from your life. And the good news is that it isn't anything dramatic, it isn't like a crisis, it isn't like a big upheaval which shakes up everything in your life. It is like a very smooth and consistent transition. So this is really, really good, because every single day this area of life or this energy is going to get better and better and better, until you simply wake up one day that your life feels totally different, that you have so much to be happy for. For those of you who have chosen the second pile, your cards are the Eight of Coins reversed, clarified by the Star card. Now what a beautiful and optimistic combination of cards this is, because the Eight of Coins reversed represents that you have really big hopes or plans or a situation that you need to sort out, which has so much to do with your future. Even for some people, their longer term future, maybe a job, a career, a study, or an important decision that they have to enact somehow. But the problem is they might be really, really stuck in the present moment. Well, on one hand, it can naturally be the global situation where things just don't work out, they don't move the way they used to. So no one, regardless of their high intelligence, has the capability to predict the likeliness of what is going on in the world financially, economically, materially. So very many jobs and careers are really, really uncertain. So this can be one case of how this energy can play out in your life. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the global situation. It can be that you're just blocked in your future plans for one reason or another. You don't really know how to enact your plans, how to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, or simply you might not have any valid, palpable options in your life to start working towards your long-term future, your long-term security, to have a kind of material life where you're grounded and safe and secure. Because, even those people who are doing really okay right now, well, because of this a global change, their future security is no longer guaranteed, no matter how prosperous or how stable their lives are in the present moment. Everything can change in a flash, everything can change in an instant. And when the legislation changes, well, everything changes. And the fact that the legislation is gonna change, well, that is almost 100% written in the stars. So that is gonna take place until the very end of 2021. That's 100%. Now, of course, none of this matters that much because it doesn't really change your situation. It is still uncertain, especially for the long-term future. But for other people still, this can simply mean a project which has a lot of potential in it, but it's not moving, it's not progressing, it is not advancing. Or it can be something which you have started 8 months ago and you had to follow a course of plan, a predetermined schematic of things, how you do it, in which order. Or you might have invested time, effort, energy into something, and that either should have produced, the fruits of your labor, or it should have, evolved in a certain way, of course in a certain positive way, useful way, but things didn't turn out like that. But neither was it a total disaster, and that is exactly why the Eight of Coins is reversed, because you just don't know what to do for the future. Now, the Star card is one of the most beautiful energies that can actually be combined with the Eight of Coins reversed, because it represents that from a karmic perspective, the reason why things didn't work out as you have planned or as you thought or as they would be rational and logical, regardless of your situation, is because the universe has planned something way better for you. It can simply be an unexpected turn of situations for the better. It can be a lucky event, or it can be a totally different event which has absolutely nothing to do with the situation presented by the Eight of Coins, but it will simply change your whole life, change your whole situation, so that you won't have to worry that much about that Eight of Coins reversed, regardless if it's your future plans, a project, your career, etc. Simply said, something which you do not expect, something which you cannot see coming rationally, is entering your life. But this surprise, this unexpected turn of events, on one hand, well, it isn't really a big surprise because you're still hoping, even in the present moment, that something either gives you clarity, a situation enters your life where you can basically act and do something palpable, follow through a plan or change your plans. Or it can be simple as your luck or your fate simply rescues you. It offers you either an alternative or something to help your situation. So the reason why this is very important is because with your hope, with you expecting some kind of help or divine intervention or trying to manifest something, well, you're actually feeding your energy, your intention into the new moon. So you make this that much more stronger and influential for yourself. And on the other hand, it is gonna be a big surprise because that, as I said earlier, that Eight of Coins is reversed for a very good reason. Everything is basically part of a big puzzle where it is only after that star card shines in your sky, your lucky star basically casts its light upon you. It is only then when you will see the big picture and understand the reason why everything in the past 8 months happened the way it did, even when plans didn't follow the normal course, even when unexpected events or blockages simply distorted your progress. So everything that has happened, everything that has caused that Eight of Coins to be reversed, it was negative, it was felt through in a rather negative way when it happened, but now you will see why and how it's going to lead to a much greater good, which is totally beyond your expectations. So, very simply said, be ready for some kind of surprise. Because your hopes are gonna enter reality, but in a way that they exceed all of your expectations. So it will never match the mental picture that you have in your mind of the possibilities of the simulation, and how possibly can you solve that situation, how can you make your plans work and stand for the long-term future. It will not match that. It will be something much better that you can have ever imagined. For those of you who have chosen the third pile, your cards are the Ace of Coins, clarified by the Empress. Wow, this is a really fortunate and absolutely harmonious combination of cards, because, this can be described in a very simple sentence where it is, good karma is going to basically upgrade your material lives one way or another. Now, the Ace of Coins is the symbol of material stability, material upgrade, but where that upgrade not just takes place, but it is also meant to last, and it is also triggered by divine forces. So it can be a karmic reward, or it can be something that you have been working on for a long time, which finally comes to fruition. And the Empress, as a clarifier, well, she is all what the Ace of Coins is, but with the twist that she is also meant to preserve it. The Empress can be a symbol of prosperity, where, material goods or material energies just flow, they just go in cycles, so that cycles, just like the cycles of nature, well, they produce new and new and new, they bring harvest, they bring prosperity, they bring well-being, celebration, and for you to enjoy all the small pleasures of life. That is exactly the main upgrade, the main patch, symbolically speaking, that is gonna apply to your life, because it won't be just about, being stable and safe and secure materially, but also enjoying it. It is the enjoyment, the pleasure, it is the harmony of all your 6 senses, or 5 senses, it really depends on how we look at it, which is gonna matter the most, because this is a period in your life when you have to acquire really relevant experiences regarding pleasure, regarding stability, what it means to be in the flow. But of course, let us not mistake prosperity for luxury, for squandering material goods. because that would really be self-defeating. Prosperity and material goods in excess always lead to some kind of imbalance. So it is not the case where it's excessive, but very balanced, very healthy, and mostly psychologically, it delights you. It makes you feel alive. It makes you be the empress, regardless of your gender. We are talking about the symbolism of the empress. So Venus in her home sign of Taurus, who basically deserves all the good sides, especially the materially good sides of life. And this is basically perfectly true regardless of our gender, because it is still the inner Venus which rules this kind of psychological energy. So how can all of this manifest in, let's say, a very palpable way in your life? Well, there are different kind of representations of this energy. Well, first of all, it can represent something really positive, beneficial, good karma, basically, reaching you in your career, in your job, which actually leads to a significant upgrade. So it can be, for example, an unexpected job offer. It can also be you being offered a new superior position, but one which doesn't really require that much more effort. So only the material part of things is going to improve and not the obligations. And that is exactly why it's an upgrade. It can also be like a divine gift, you winning something, you receiving something. It can even be a donation, a gift, a present, intervention from someone in your life, someone maybe from your past, present, it doesn't really matter. It can also mean, for example, like an investment finally bearing fruits. And it is that symbolic harvest that is going to matter very much, because it can represent, for example, like almost like a passive source of income, greatly helping you out in every way, shape or form. But for other people, it can also be a massive upgrade of their environment, living space. It can maybe mean a new house. It can mean leaving a shared accommodation where you get a much greater degree of independence. But at the same time, it can also mean moving in with someone who is not only going to make your material life easier. If you share the rent, for example, well, that is already an ease, but also psychologically, that person is really, really beneficial to you. Maybe they're like a very fun-loving, funny, humorous, optimistic, nurturing kind of person, whose sheer presence psychologically also represents like a source of content, a source of happiness, a source of joy. And last but not least, the Empress, Venus. So for those of you who are single and looking, and especially those who are looking desperately, this can represent finally a really, really beautiful new relationship, which also stabilizes your material life. And for those who are already in an established bond, this can represent, for example, pregnancy, childbirth, or if you already have a child, something really positive, good happening to your child, which is a major source of happiness, joy, celebration. Now, even though both of these cards are very earthly or very material, the coin energy in nature, for some people it can represent the total opposite. But, of course, if it's the total opposite, it is their source of happiness and joy. So it can mean leaving a very, very busy life full of obligations and duties and a lot of work, effort, sacrifice, stress for a rather minimalistic lifestyle, but one which is full of freedom, one which is full of joy, and especially joy of the physical body. So it can also mean exercise. It can also mean, for example, moving to the countryside or leaving a very complicated but good paying job for something way more simpler, but that simplicity is the key to happiness, because materially you're going to be more than okay. And if you have a lot of time for yourself, if you have a lot of freedom in your life, and if you can have that chance to do so very many different personal things apart from work and obligations and etc., well, that can also be a massive energy of happiness, joy, content. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that life upgrade is going to take place, individually for their personal distinctive situation for every single person. But it will lead everyone basically to the same type of expression of this energy, which is simply said, being able to enjoy life more fully. And of course, with our physical bodies most of all. Well, this concludes your reading. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. And please remember, if you'd like a personal reading, just log on to 1millionnights.com and find your dedicated advisor. And also we have a special promotion running in the month of September, where if you buy any of our prepaid packages, you get 10% bonus free credit. Thank you once again, and I wish everyone a really magical and supremely harmonious new moon. Until next time, bye for now.